I should bag destroyers. And next thing you know, you had 3 destroyers in your hand and you were looking to crush them. But howdy YouTube fam. This week we have an awesome video for you guys that's all about building your first bag. Now, if you're like me, the first time that you went to build your bag, start buying some discs, you probably went to YouTube, started looking at an in the bag of, I don't know, Paul McBeth, saying, all right, well, Paul McBeth is the best of the best, and therefore I have to throw his bag. And so you started writing down all of the discs in his bag, and that's how you built your first bag of disc golf. And there's this reality that we all sadly have to face. So say it with me. I am not a professional disc golfer. Oh man, that feels so good to get off my chest. Now that we've all acknowledged that most of us in the world are not professional disc golfers, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, how am I supposed to build my first bag? What discs are good? What discs are bad? How am I supposed to know how discs fly? And which one should I buy? And don't worry, we got all those answers for you here.
If you're trying to build a bag and you've never bought a starter set before, a starter set's definitely going to be the way to go. You can look it up online, and most of your local sports retailers are going to have starter sets available. If you don't want to go through an academy or a Dick's Sporting Goods, you can always head to the manufacturers themselves. Most every single one of the major manufacturers has a starter set, so you can really experiment and see which one you want the most, whether that be Prodigy, Innova, Discraft, things like that. Even some of the starter sets are going to be more than the 3 basic discs, and you can expand them. If you don't want to go through the manufacturer, you can always head over to the trusty Amazon.com, and they have tons of options available on that website that can get shipped to you in that lickety-split Amazon Prime 2-day shipping.
Now I want to take a minute before we really dive into the disc selections and which discs I'm going to recommend. And I want to talk about there's really 2 different paths you can take here when you're trying to build your bag. If you're the player that's looking to improve and truly become a better player, well, that's option number 1, and we're going to recommend some discs that are different than the starter set discs. Now, these might be a little harder to throw right off the bat, but as you improve your form, as you get better, you're going to see massive improvement with those, and they're going to be better discs for you down the road. The other side is, let's say that you're a really competitive person and you're getting used to the game, but you're looking for that quick fix, that some disc that's going to help you get better. And as hard as it is to say, there are some discs out there that will be easier to throw, but we do want to say that it's not necessarily the disc that's the problem, and we need to be okay with that. If you go on YouTube, you can look up different starter pack challenges where pros are still taking these starter packs and launching them hundreds and hundreds of feet. But like I said, there are discs out there that we are going to recommend, and probably a better plastic, that are going to still serve you and make it a little easier to get you that distance right off the bat. So with both of these options in mind, hey, let's dive into the discs.
When you're out looking at discs, you're probably asking yourself, like, how do they fly differently? How do I know how they fly differently? And this video isn't about those flight numbers. There are videos out there about that. But 2 words we are going to use a lot are overstable and understable, which means on a right-handed backhand, an overstable disc is going to go left and an understable disc is going to go right. There are 4 numbers included in the flight numbers, which are speed, glide, turn, and fade. A lot of people think the faster the speed, the farther the disc goes, and that's not entirely true.
Say what?
The biggest numbers that we're going to be paying attention to are turn and fade. Turn is the willingness of a disc to turn right, and fade is its ability to fade back at the end to the left. And so as a beginner, you want to look at discs that have high turn and low fade. And also notice that plastic affects flight. We're going to be talking a lot about that. So if you don't want to look at the flight numbers, another great place that I suggest is actually heading to YouTube and looking up disc reviews. One really cool part about this is that disc reviews are done by a lot of us, the plebeians, the amateurs. And so The disc reviews are actually going to show you a pretty good insight into how that disc actually flies. Now, there are people like Will Shoestrick out there and Paul Ulibarri who are pros doing disc reviews, but most of the time the disc reviews are going to be really good for showing you how a disc flies in the hands of an amateur. The next place I would suggest going to is infinitediscs.com. Not only does it have flight numbers and flight paths, but it also encourages its users to review the discs. And so people are willing to do this and excited to do this. I wouldn't take every review word for word, but it does give you a really good insight into how the discs are going to fly once again in the hands of us amateurs. Fourth option for seeing how the discs fly is the manufacturer's website itself. You'll see that there's 4 different flight paths representing all 4 skill levels that might be represented, and the disc will fly differently in the hands of someone more experienced. So let's dive into the discs that we recommend. Timestamps are below for the different manufacturers in case you're more interested in one over the other. If you're going to talk about brands, you have to start with Innova. They were the OG, the original. For their plastic, we recommend Star and Pro because it beats in but is still a premium plastic. We say avoid Champion only because Champion plastic tends to be more overstable and harder to work in. Now for discs, we suggest getting a Star AVR as your primary driving putter. The AVR is a classic. The Shark, getting it in a premium plastic actually turns it into a really straight disc that you can really grip on and rip on. As you can see here, it flies out on a nice predictable line with a little fade at the end. The next disc we're going to look at is the Leopard. Once again, in your starter pack, a nicer plastic. That Leopard is going to treat you really nice without being too flippy like it is in that base starter plastic. Gives you a nice reliable line that turns and just holds, and the disc is going to last for a while. The first non-starter pad disc I'm going to recommend is the Eagle. This is a fantastic fairway driver that flies really straight, but also has that little bit of a turn on the back end that's going to help you get some distance pretty easily. The Wombat 3 is my go-to mid for anyone who's starting in disc golf. This disc flies so easily, so far, and is understable enough to still let you rip it. Anyone that's played with me knew this disc was going to be on here. For the putter, I suggest an AVR X3, and here's why I suggest this disc. Because the AVR X3 is a disc that everyone should have in your bag, whether you're a beginner or an advanced player. It's super overstable, like so overstable, but it will turn into your reliable approach disc. I don't suggest putting with this, but I do suggest using it as a driving putter 90% of the time. Everyone should have a disc in their bag that is overstable as a putter / mid that's just going to get you out of trouble. You're going to see in each of the brands that I talk about, I'm going to recommend a overstable approach putter because it's just a necessary disc that everyone should have in their bag, no matter what brand you throw. So that's our Innova recommendations. Which would you recommend? Let me know in the comments down below. Next up is Prodigy discs. Prodigy gets a bad rap because of how they name their disc, but it makes so much sense. PA is putt and approach, mid, fairway, hybrid, driver. It all makes sense, and the plastics we recommend are the 400 and 350 plastic because they're a little more grippy, just like the Star plastic. The 750 is that more high quality premium, but it's going to be overstable. As for their starter pack, they come with this P model, M model, and F model, and although those don't necessarily get replicated in the higher quality plastics, you can use their number system to go and find another one. If it's a 1, it's going to be more overstable, 7 is going to be understable, so you're looking for somewhere in the 3 to 5 range. Now the first disc we actually recommend was recommended by Prodigy themselves, and that's the F7. It's a super understable fairway driver that the better you get, it's going to start turning over and going right more. If that's a little too difficult for you, you can go with the F5. It's a little straighter and going to give you that better flight path as you get more experienced. Now for the mid, I really love the M4, and this disc has tried to make its way into my bag for a long time now. The M4 flies super straight for you if you're a beginner, and the better you get with it, the more you're going to be able to turn it right to get that really cool turnover line. It looks awesome when you start ripping it. last disc I'm going to suggest is that overstable approach/putter disc, and that's the A2. This disc is so overstable but so reliable to get you out of a pinch when you need to go around a tree, get out of the woods, or when you just want that nice hyzer finish, that overstable finish to just park it right next to the basket. Now, I'm not a Prodigy expert, so what disc for you Prodigy players out there do you think we missed? Let me know in the comments. Next up is a company that I fall more and more in love with every single day, and it's actually a combination of 3 companies, and that's Team Trilogy. That's Dynamic Discs, Latitude 64, and Westside Discs, all fly under the banner of Team Trilogy. 3 different companies who all produce their discs in the same factory in Sweden. Because of this, their websites actually kind of link together. So for their plastics, we're going to recommend the Fusion from Dynamic Disc, Gold Line from Latitude 64, and the Tournament or TP plastic from Westside Discs. The overstable, or tend to be more overstable plastics, are Lucid, Opto, and VIP, obviously from the respective companies. Now, the starter pack and Dynamic Disc comes with the Truth, a Judge, and we suggest getting those in some higher quality plastics like the Fusion plastic, because as you can see, it really allows the disc to shine, and that honestly wasn't even a great throw. Once again, we aren't saying to avoid Lucid plastic at all costs, but things like the Escape, the driver there, are going to be better and easier to throw in those Fusion lines. Speaking of easy to throw, I really love what Latitude 64 has going here. They've created an easy-to-use line, which is precious, almost like their names, including the Diamond and the Jade, which are fairway drivers, the Pearl, which is a pretty understable mid-range, the Ruby, which is a fantastic putter and driving putter, and the newest addition was actually the Sapphire, which is a distance driver, and all of these discs work really, really well in the hands of newer players. I would suggest bagging, honestly, all of them. The company that brought me to Trilogy, though, was Westside, because their names alone are incredibly epic, and their tournament plastic is so good. As a fantasy lover myself, the names like the World, the King are all awesome, but the first disc that we're going to suggest from them is the Fairway Driver, which is a Hatchet. The Hatchet is a super reliable fairway driver that's going to give you some pretty easy distance. It's kind of like a cheat code for a disc. The next disc we recommend is the mid-range, which is the Tursus. It is understable but goes pretty straight, and I love this description it has here. It makes disc golf more fun. I mean, honestly, who wouldn't want that out of a mid-range? Last disc we're going to recommend, you guessed it, is that overstable putter approach disc, which is a Harp. You can rip on it, and it's just going to give you that really nice left hyzer line that's going to park right next to the basket. At least if you're right-handed, it will. Those are the discs we would recommend from Team Trilogy. There is one thing I want to point out though, and that is that there are 2 different types of Truths that are in the Dynamic Disc lineup. There is the regular Truth, and then there is the Eric McCabe Truth, or the EMAC Truth. And the EMAC Truth is a little more stable than the original Truth, and I would highly suggest getting it. It is a disc that absolutely changed my game entirely. I love it in the Fusion plastic. In fact, while we're here, I mean, why not go get one? Why not get another one, right? So I'm going to put that in the card, and let's just keep this a secret between me and you, YouTube. Don't tell my wife. What discs did we miss? Let me know in the comments. Lastly, we have Discraft, the titans of the game right now, having Paul Macbeth and Paige Pierce.
It's over 9,000!
Now, with their plastic, the discs that we're going to recommend are the ESP and the titanium, and honestly, we suggest the Jawbreaker as well. The Z-Line is that really beefy, overstable plastic, and though it works really great for some, and they offer it in most of their discs, we do suggest stepping away from it. The Magnet comes in the starter pack, the Buzz comes in the starter pack, and in premium plastics, both of these work really, really well as upgrades to the starter set that Discraft releases. I love the ESP Buzz. It comes out so smooth, it flies so straight. It is just unreal how easy it is to throw that disc for easy distance. Also, the Avenger SS comes in the starter pack, and in a premium plastic, that disc can really shine. You can grip on it, and it's not going to turn over and go to the right too hard. As for the non-starter pack discs, we're going to recommend the Stalker, and it's pretty hard to find this in the ESP plastic, so we suggest going titanium. If you can find that, really great disc for some good distance. I also really love the Meteor. It is a wonderful disc that's going to come out. It's understable as a mid-range. It's going to head right, or you can flip it up and just let it go straight for miles. Lastly, the overstable putter approach disc, and that is the Zone. The Zone is a disc that if I didn't have an AVRX3, I would put a Zone in my bag. This disc is so smooth. It comes out and just gives you such solid performance. It's no wonder that pretty much every Discraft Pro has a Zone in their bag, and you could do that too. So, Discraft fans, what did I miss? What is not there? Let me know in the comments. Now, it feels bad to tell you how to build your bag and what discs to get without telling you where to get them. You can always buy them from the manufacturers, and like the starter sets, you can always go and find them elsewhere. But there are two websites that I really love. I think they do a great job, and that's Infinite Discs is the first one. And why I love this is because you get to go through, select your disc, and you actually pick out the exact disc that you're going to get. You pick the weight, the color, the type of plastic, so when it shows up, it's not a surprise, and that is such a cool feature. The second website that I recommend is OTB, which is Only the Best Discs. I'm going to have a link to both of those websites below. But one thing I really enjoy about OTB is that when it comes to their specific details, is that it talks about the dominess of the disc. And for me, the dominess affects the glide, and I like to know if my disc is going to be flat, if it's going to have that dome, a little bit of a pop top, which can actually affect the flight quite a bit. And so I really, really love the detail that OTB puts into their disc descriptions. And once again, you're picking out the exact disc you're getting, so there's no surprises when you open up your discs at the end of the day. And those are the places we would recommend buying discs from.
Well, that was a lot of information, and I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited to get out there and try some of these discs that we've been talking about. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it was very helpful. Taught you some discs that you didn't know about maybe, or are interested in trying, or even a better way to go about finding new discs to fill your bag. So, with that in mind, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, hit that like button, and hey, why don't you follow me on other social media channels too while you're at it? So, thanks for coming. Keep throwing some discs.